Hey guys, welcome back to ITower. Today we're building a fully functional router from scratch using pure vanilla JavaScript. No React router, no Vue router, absolutely no frameworks. Just clean, powerful JavaScript that you can actually understand and modify. Most developers use routers every day but have no idea how they work under the hood. After this video, you'll understand the history API, dynamic routing with parameters, middleware patterns, and how to build a production-ready navigation system. This isn't just theory, we're building a real router with features like loading states, breadcrumbs, and a 404 page. Once you understand this, working with any framework router becomes much easier because you know what's happening behind the scenes. Before we jump in, if you're enjoying this deep dive, smash that like button, subscribe. It helps us create more content where we actually understand libraries instead of just using them. Let's talk about what routing actually is. In traditional websites, every link click sends a request to the server and reloads the page with new HTML. That's server-side routing and it's slow. You lose application state, there's a loading flash, and the experience isn't smooth. Modern single-page applications use client-side routing. We intercept link clicks, change the URL without reloading, and swap content using JavaScript. The magic is a history API, specifically pushState. When we call pushState, we change the URL without triggering a reload. The back button still works because we're adding entries to the history stack. We also listen for the popState event, which fires when users click back or forward. Every modern router is built on this foundation. Now, the HTML structure. We have a header with navigation links that include a data link attribute. This marks router-controlled navigation. There's a breadcrumbs div for the current path, and a main app container where content will render. Inside the app we have a loading div with a spinner. The CSS is already written for styling, but we'll focus on the JavaScript routing logic. Let's build the router. We're using a class-based approach for clean encapsulation. The constructor initializes our state. The routes array stores route definitions with path patterns, matching regex, handlers, and parameter names. The middleware's array holds functions that run before every route for security checks or login. The notFound handler defines our 404 page. The beforeNavigate and afterNavigate hooks run code around navigation for authentication or analytics. Now, the route registration method where developers define what happens for each URL pattern. The root method takes a path pattern like /about or /user/username and a handler function that returns HTML. We convert path patterns into regular expressions to match URLs and extract parameters. We create a param names array for dynamic parameter names. The first replace escapes forward slashes. The second replace finds parameters starting with a colon. For each match, we store the parameter name and replace it with a regex that matches any characters except slashes, creating a capturing group. So /user/username becomes a regex matching /user/anything and captures that as the username parameter. We create a route object with the original path, the compiled regex with anchors to match exactly the handler function and param names array. We push this into our routes array. Returning this enables method chaining for a nice API design. The navigate method is critical for actually changing pages. Navigate is async for middleware or handlers doing asynchronous work. It takes the path we're navigating to and add to history defaulting to true. We need this parameter because when users click back, the browser already changed the URL, so we don't want another history entry. First, we check for a beforeNavigate hook for authentication checks. If it returns false, we cancel navigation. The await is crucial for server verification. If add to history is true, we call pushState. It takes a state object, a title, and the new URL. We store the path in state, pass an empty string for title, and set the URL. pushState updates the address bar instantly without reloading. This is key to single-page applications. After changing the URL, we call render to update content. Then update active link adds an active class to the current navigation link. Finally, if there's an afterNavigate hook, we call it for analytics tracking. Now the render method where content appears on screen. Render is async because handlers might fetch data. We grab the app element and call showLoading to display a spinner for visual feedback. Before rendering, we run all middleware functions, awaiting each so they run in sequence. Perfect for logging or checking permissions. This is route matching logic. We loop through routes trying to find a match. For each route, we call match with the route's regex. If it matches, we save that route. The match array contains the full match string at index 0, then captured groups at subsequent indices. We loop through param names and grab corresponding values from match array at index +1. So, if the URL is /user/John with a username parameter, we store params with username equal to John. Once we find a match, we break. We add a small delay to keep the loading spinner visible. In real applications, you'd be waiting for API calls. Then we hide the spinner. Now we render content. If we found a matching route, we call its handler passing params. The handler returns HTML which we await and set as inner HTML. If no route matched, but we have a not found handler, we use that. Otherwise, we show a default 404 message. This ensures we always show something meaningful. After rendering, we update breadcrumbs and scroll to the top, which is important for new page navigation. We also have helper methods. Show loading and hide loading control spinner visibility with simple DOM manipulation. Update active link manages the active class on navigation links for visual feedback. Update breadcrumbs creates a breadcrumb trail for usability. These are important for user experience but not core routing logic. The init method starts everything. We listen for pop state, which triggers when users click back or forward. When it fires, the browser already updated the URL, so we render new content. We pass false for add to history to prevent adding another entry, which would cause an infinite loop. We use event delegation, listening for clicks on the document. When a click happens, we check if it's an anchor with data link. If so, we prevent default to stop normal browser behavior, extract the href, and call our navigate method. This intercepts router link clicks and handles them with custom navigation. Finally, we do initial navigation to the current URL. Users might arrive at /about or /user/someone, not just home. This renders appropriate content for whatever URL they arrived at. We pass false because we are initializing, not navigating. Now let's define actual routes. We create a router instance and register middleware to log every navigation. Middleware runs before every route, perfect for debugging or authentication. We register the home route with just a /. The handler returns HTML as a template string. In real applications, this might fetch data from an API. Next, I want to demonstrate dynamic routing. The path contains :username, which becomes a parameter. The handler receives a params object to access that value. If someone navigates to /user/John, params has username equal to John. This is powerful for user profiles, blog posts, or product pages. We register a 404 handler for unmatched routes, giving us a branded arrow page. Then we call init, which sets up event listeners and renders the initial page. Alright, so I open the page and you can see the home content showing up right away. When I click on about, the URL changes from / to /about without any reload or flash, and the new content smoothly fades in. That's our navigate method working with push state. When I click on profile, the URL turns into /user/John Doe, and you can see John Doe appear right on the screen, taken directly from the URL parameter. When I click the back button, the URL goes back to the previous route, and the content updates instantly. That's our pop state listener handling it. Now, when I type a URL manually, like /user/anything you want, the page loads immediately, showing that username. And when I type something random, like /randompage, it takes me straight to our 404 error page. What we've built is a production-ready router, with dynamic routing using regular expressions, middleware support for cross-cutting concerns, lifecycle hooks for navigation control, proper browser history management, loading states, and custom 404 handling. Understanding this makes you a better developer. When you use React Router or Vue Router, you'll know what's happening behind the abstractions. When you encounter bugs, you'll know where to look. If you need custom behavior, you can implement it confidently. Thanks so much for watching. If this helped you understand routing better, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into how web technologies work. Drop a comment if you have questions or want other topics explained from first principles. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.